All right, welcome to the podcast. On today's show with Jorge Perez. Thanks for joining, from the author of Shut the Fuck Up Method.
Thank you, Diego. Thank you for having me.
What made you want to write this book? What's the thing?
Well, you know, the genesis of it was actually that both my parents passed away from cancer pretty back to back. My dad was in 2019 from leukemia, and my mom was in 2022 from breast cancer metastasized.
How old were you when that happened?
Well, you know, it's just it was 6 years ago. Now I'm 47, so I was 41 and then 44. Wow. You know. Okay. And basically, it took me on a deep dive on genetics. I wanted to, you know, everybody's starting to look at you like, oh, what are you going to do, you know? And I started to really inquire and kind of think on what could have happened, you know, what is it that they did or didn't do. And I got into the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza, who does these great meditation retreats and really goes deep into epigenetics, which is the study of what stress can detonate in the body, you know? Mm-hmm. And after a deep dive, you know, I started thinking about mom and dad and really remembering how dad was just really, really furious about what happened to Venezuela and his business and would always have these like really reactive, stressful moments constantly. Mom's trauma from divorce and from childhood. And I distinctly remember just this knocking on the immune system by stressing themselves out. And I really figured out, Diego, that there was a glitch, man. Like, you could go to all the therapy in the world, all the personal retreats in the world, but if you don't really rewire how you talk, it's never gonna cement. Mm-hmm. It's almost like you're going to all the greatest boot camps and you're exercising, but it's pizza time every night before bed. It doesn't matter.
Sure.
And that's the genesis of the book.
Well, I'm sorry that happened to you. That's unbelievable. But there's an awakening here, clearly.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the best and the worst thing that could have happened to me. Because as painful as it was, and I'll never look at it like it was a good thing, but it was part of the plan.
Yeah. I sort of feel like that. So I lost my father when I was really young. It's actually why we're in America, from Peru. And so it was like, it's this really interesting relationship I have with what some people would call trauma.
Yeah.
Because to me, it gave me a few things. One, it created an opportunity for me where my grandfather became the father figure in my life. Mm-hmm. And I've never met a more noble human being than him. And so if I choose the narrative, poor me, I have a million reasons. Poor my mom, my sister, everybody, right?
Yeah.
But if I choose, well, what are the gifts that came from this? There's also a lot. And so I try to focus on that narrative, right? Yeah. It's almost like the grass grows where you water it. And so where are we going to choose to water it today? Yeah. And that's a story I think everyone can share on their own. Yeah. And it's really personal to whoever. But I think all of us have an excuse as to why our life is hard or not where we want it to be, and create a narrative that doesn't suit us and probably puts us in a place of stress, and that stress inevitably leads to the body breaking down and having reactions that we don't want. Yeah. Okay, so when that happened for you, though, you go on this journey, and then at some point, what are you learning that you're thinking, I got to share this with the world?
Well, I think personal development has been a passion of mine for 25 years, right? Like my mom, who's, you know, we're both Peruvian. My mom, she took me to India when I was 20 to stay at an ashram with a holy man named Sai Baba. And I loved the work. When I got into the work of Tony Robbins, I didn't even know that kind of work existed. And then I started studying with Byron Katie and Abraham Hicks. And I just loved metaphysics, right? But it wasn't until the death of my parents and then I got into the work of Dr. Joe where I really saw that we are, in a way, fighting a very ancient system, which is our fight or flight. You know, our brains are not wired to make us happy. They're wired to help us survive. Mm-hmm. And we're the lineage of people that had to really do a lot of surviving, right? But the problem is that we're not running away from dinosaurs anymore. You know, we're really not surviving. We're surviving. That's right. Amazon Prime is late. So I really understood that in order for us to be able to live a more peaceful life and really kind of win the game is that we have to understand the brain and we have to rewire our very innate tendencies to react. And I think the work of Dr. Joe really explained the brain so efficiently that it inspired the book.
What was the biggest change you saw for yourself prior to writing the book? Like, what did you realize was working? What was the rewiring happening that you were like, oh, this is really changing my life?
Listen, we can't control what we think, right, Diego? But we can control what we say.
Yeah.
And it's the small things. Like, for example, a telemarketer calls you and you're in the middle of your day and you feel that rage, right? Like, how dare you? Like, almost like if the guy like insulted your mom and you hang up the phone and you're about to go, motherfucker, you just take a deep breath and you go, you know what? He's doing his job.
That's right. Yeah.
And he's feeding his family.
Yeah.
And that's it. And you know what? Don't hate the player. Don't hate the player. Hate the game.
Yeah.
Like, he can call all he wants. I don't have to pick up the phone, and I also don't have to be nice, but I don't have to attack him and therefore attack myself.
This is the thing I see with Justin Bieber recently, where he's talking to the paparazzi and he's trying to tell them, like, look, let's just be friends, bro.
Yeah.
And they're talking right back to him, but they're doing a job.
Yeah.
And he thinks he can change them.
Yeah.
And he's trying to get them to see his worldview.
Yeah.
And there's no chance it's happening.
But the thing is, like, and you're absolutely right. And I think if we really realize that at the end of the day, it's not personal, we could just like skip the middleman, meaning explaining. I'll tell you what I mean by that. Like throughout the journey of my parents' cancer, right? We're talking about 8 years of chemos and hospitals. And I had these moments where I would walk into that cancer clinic and it's $1 billion industry. Mm-hmm. And I would look at it and be like, oh my God, this is so insidious and big pharma but it's a business. This is never going to end, you know? Yeah. And then I would look at a nurse and be like, wait a minute, but she's got a kid to feed and another kid in college and her husband that's probably on disability. So if we take the personal out of everything, then we just see that everyone's just doing their job. Now, that doesn't mean that I condone it, but I can stop going into a personal war in my mind about it.
And do you feel like that's compassion or is it gratitude? Like, how do you...
It's common sense, bro.
Okay, so you simplify it to just...
Yes, it's common sense.
It's right there in front of you.
Yeah, it's like me being mad at you.
Yeah.
Being mad at someone, not forgiving someone's taking poison and expecting you to die.
Yeah.
I don't forgive you. I don't forgive the world to cut them a break. I forgive them to cut me a break. You're just the lucky collateral damage in between.
Sure.
And when we look at the world and we think that the world should be any different, that means that we're fighting with reality. It's like the dog barks, the cat meows, and this motherfucker runs his business the way he does. Now, the whole world can think like, wait, but he could have. I just think people either have the capability or don't. Now, we can give them advice and we can share, but they're either going to be able to do it or not.
So this is like a core belief, right? Like that I have. And we almost got into this before.
Yeah.
But it's basically like, I firmly believe that every human is capable of anything.
Yeah.
And I don't mean like, I don't think I could beat LeBron in basketball.
Okay.
I want to be clear on that. That is not what I'm saying, right? There are obviously physical attributes that we all have that are a little bit different. Mm-hmm. But I think in terms of mindset and in terms of achievement, I think people can, if they want to, get to a point where they can do just about the craziest thing that's in their head, let's say.
Right.
I believe that. And I think like it's an interesting thing because sometimes I wonder if I even should believe that or if I should just say definitely not.
Well, I think that belief works when people are performing the way that you want them to. And I think you're probably an amazing coach. And I think you're probably an amazing coach for entrepreneurs that really want to excel and you give them this advice. But the problem, Diego, is when they don't perform. And then all of a sudden we feel that our method is not working. And at the end, I really, just like you're saying that core belief, my core belief is that people would do different if they could, but they can't. And now that doesn't mean that I'm going to keep you around. If you're a bad employee, I could be like, listen, I adore you. I think you're awesome, but I need somebody to perform with this kind of quality and you can't do it. And I got to do us both up. See, we're not doing anyone any favor of keeping them around when they can't do the job.
That's right. I think preference matters in that scenario. Like I think about it like a Crayola box, right? And like we've all bought the 64 pack and there's always been crayons we didn't use, the majority of them.
Yeah.
And so I kind of view that like people.
Yeah.
In the sense of like, who's going to come into your tribe? Who's going to be part of your village? Because you can choose. You can be as discriminatory as you want based on any talent level you want. And then ultimately, like, who are going to be the people that you sort of vibe with or are on your frequency? And you all can help each other, benefit each other. That's kind of what I've deduced from my personal life so far. And so I just work really hard to find those people and then once they're in, let's call it the circle, they just feel love.
Yeah.
Like there's like this place where we can all be ourselves completely.
No, I think that's beautiful. And also, we see this with big celebrities, right? Like at some point, again, not personal, they were friends with C-level celebrities, then became B-levels. All of a sudden, you only see them messing with A-list celebrities. And then what if you're that C celebrity from that show that it was like, bro, he doesn't talk to me anymore after he became friends with, Brad Pitt. Again, it's not personal. In my book, I take a deep dive on friendships. I think friendships are great, but friendships have a shelf life. Sometimes I think when like friends stop being friends, either like he slept with your ex-girlfriend or like even that they died, the ending, whatever happened is just the excuse for energies to go a different way.
Yeah.
And people are also seasons, maybe a friend was a great mentor for a while, but then you had to go a different route. So that person needed to go one way and you another.
Yeah. You mentioned seasons. Are you aware of like Tony Robbins, the seasons of life?
Yeah.
Do you think that's true?
Yeah, I think everything is season. I think I love how he talks about the greatest discovery man did, and it's patterns. It's like, when there's winter, you know that you need to have all your food ready to go by then because you're not going to be farming in the winter. So I think understanding the seasons of life and understanding that what's important for you right now, it's going to change in 10 years.
Totally.
And 20 years, or it changed 10 years
2
ago.
years.
Or
2 years, it'll be very
and
different.
Forget it. Now with the way things are going to be moving with AI even so, I mean, that's going to transform everything on a warp speed.
Yeah.
I think being highly ambitious is amazing. At the same time, I think that the sweet spot is being passionate and also surrendering at the same time.
Yeah.
It's like expect the best from people, but also immediately surrender when you don't get what you want.
When you talk about surrender, what do you mean like have faith?
Well, what I
do you
know
mean
is
like
this is a bad word
it?
if you're at war, right? Surrender. What I mean is like, I can pursue all these great things that I can have my goals, my ambitions and all that, but I have to trust that if they're not happening right now, it's not the right time.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that I don't pick up the phone and start tomorrow again. You see, I think the biggest epidemic that we have as humans is we are moment discriminators. The moment is never good enough. The moment needs to have 3 more zeros on the bank account, or it needs to be with a hotter chick, or it needs to be more athletic. But the moment is perfection because you know what? Tomorrow a truck can come and hit you and it's done. And that employee that you were mad at, he can die tomorrow morning or you can die tomorrow morning. So how did we finish the day today and how we looked at somebody else's job?
Yeah. They say like every moment's a miracle.
Yeah,
and I
that's
think
it.
A lot of people miss that.
But the VR said, right? The Diego VR said, the Jorge VR said, doesn't want us to realize that that it could die right now. It just goes, no. That we got to keep performing.
Yeah.
But tomorrow might not happen, bro. And this is it.
I'll tell you when you said surrender, what it meant to me.
Yeah.
So what it meant to me was like in my line of work, I've made a couple non-negotiables. We all hear this new trick, right? Mm-hmm. And so to me, it's like, I know a few things about me. I know I'm going to work really hard. I think I'm decently intelligent. And I know the things I don't know, I'm going to hire people to help me achieve them.
Yeah.
And I'm going to work really hard towards the thing I want to achieve.
Yeah.
In that, I'm going to surrender to the results. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that has given me, I've learned that through this project actually. And that's given me so much peace because I feel like in my 20s and 30s, I was on this like, I got to make $100,000 by 21 and then a millionaire by 28. And I was like these weird things.
Yeah.
And so it was like, I was just working myself ragged towards something instead of just focusing on the thing in front of me and almost just making the world small. Like I wanted these big, audacious things that oddly enough, I achieved some of those things. And I felt, I didn't feel any better.
Right.
That's like, there's an invaluable lesson in that. When the thing you've been working so hard to achieve, you have it, and then it doesn't change you at all. You're kind of like, why did I want this so bad?
Yeah. I think we've trained the brain to be so over there driven.
Yeah.
So then it's like when I get the boat, when I get that thing, when I hit that metric of 100,000 a month, then I'll be happy. But then what happened? We've trained it to be an over there mentality. So then of course it recalibrates, and then goes, no, wait, sorry, I meant over there. And then we're never done, and it's like that whole thing of the carrot and the donkey and the elusive carrot stick that he's chasing. We have to train ourselves to. That's why I think for me, the first thing that I do when I wake up is I have a gratitude list, and I write 5 things that I'm grateful for. The roof over my head, the fact that, I can do this. I work a lot with Dr. Joe, and I'm in the medical team, and I take care of the people that have neurological diseases like ALS or MS, or people that have cancer, and millionaires, they would give to just be able to do this, to have motor control.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are, no matter who you are, millions of people would kill to be in your shoes. And that's something that we need to be more present of.
Why the name for the book?
A funny story. It was my first day volunteering at Dr. Joe's, and he was on stage, just kind of talking about, 101 quantum physics and saying, where you put your energy grows, right? So let's say thoughts are like these particles, these waves and particles. And then you see your neighbor and you go, that guy's a dick. We lock in the particles. So then now we have to be proven right. So he's going to start showing you things so you can be right. So you can turn around and tell your friend, see, I told you, bro. I told you. And we see this all the time. People are like, someone cheated on something or someone stole money. I knew that was going to happen. I'm like, of course you knew. You kept saying it. You kept talking about it. It kept growing. And then you ended up being right. People want psychic badges. Like, I'm like, great, you were right. What do you want? You're going to set up a 976 number? You're going to set up a crystal ball business?
Right.
So what I do now is when I meet someone that I don't like, the first thing that I say to myself is, I'm going to be so wrong about you. And you know what I'm not going to do? I'm not going to gather up cronies to agree with me in things that I don't want about my life, because I'm the one that loses. But that's where we lose the power of the word. So Dr. Joe was, talking about where you put your energy grows. So your energies on life is great. You're going to experience life is great. Your energies on people are thieves. You're going to get a lot of that.
That's right.
And we went on break, and I noticed how, participants and volunteers and staff, everybody was either complaining or gossiping. And I was like, oh my God, no one's doing what this guy's telling you to do. What's going on? And then one of his top people, just kind of jokingly, she's like, well, what are you going to do about it? And I'm like, I'm going to write a book about it. It's going to be called Shut the Fuck Up. And that was the genesis of the book. So the book is just, let's keep really the rigor of speaking clean. I think that's what's been missing.
Okay. Language.
Okay. But language is, so we reverse the order, right? Because we have beliefs, the world is scary, thoughts, people are stealing from me, words, this guy's a thief. So what we do is we go backwards. So we stop the word, we minimize the thought, and then we eradicate the belief. But it's also not repressing, right? Because I'm big on, if you got to let it out, tell somebody, but just don't tell 20 people. Don't tell 30 people. Don't create and cement that energy.
Yeah. That's like a lesson for my sister and my mom about my ex-girlfriends. They're
what do they do?
No, they're just, you know how it goes. They're like protective Peruvian women.
Yeah.
And I'm like the baby.
That's the thing. What if we knew, man? What if we knew that we're that powerful that whatever we believe comes true? So our beliefs are either going to serve us or they're going to trap us. So wouldn't we want to clean the lens of our belief system?
What do you think holds people back from that? What do you think it really is? So when you say surrender, that's why when you said surrender, I was like, there has to be an element of faith in that too. Like,
totally. Yeah.
Blind faith, literally blind faith.
Yeah.
And so what do you think holds people back from it?
People are not realizing how powerful they are. See, the thing is, with the fight or flight mechanism, right, that's so prevalent in just the way we operate, we gravitate towards bad news. We can't blame CNN or Fox News for putting war and murder all day long. That's what creates ratings, right? Because our fight or flight tells us if we know where the problem is, then we're going to be safe, right? If I know what's going on in Gaza, then I'm going to be safe here in West Hollywood, which makes no sense. But here's the problem, and this is the mic drop moment. The same alarm system that's trying to keep us safe is the one that's killing us with stress. Mm-hmm. So we have to really drum up the willpower to talk about the things that we want. And again, that's not to say that if you have $5 in the bank, you're not going around saying, I'm rich. But you don't have to call everybody you know and tell them that you're broke either.
Yeah. And you think a lot of people, that's where they get caught.
Yes, that's where they get caught. They fight for their limitations. They talk about the things that they don't want. Again, I have the 10 commandments, the shut the fuck up commandments. The commandment number 3 is if you have a problem, tell one person or your therapist, and that's it. And it could be 2 or 3 or 4, but not 20. I want us to be the kind of people, that beautiful scene where you have a pebble and there's a still lake and you throw the pebble and you see the waves. What if we became the kind of people that think about the waves before we throw the pebble? What if you see your friend's girlfriend out one night and she looks flirty with a guy and you don't run the next day and tell your friend? Maybe you ask him, hey, how are things going? Maybe we think about the impact that our conversations have with people and with ourselves.
What's your favorite commandment of the 10 you have in your book?
My favorite by far is commandment number 10, which is before you tell somebody to shut the fuck up, you shut the fuck up. And again, everything that I say is an invitation, right? Yeah. By no way, shape, or form do I say you should do it. Because I don't think I think everyone's doing it right because everybody's doing what they can. Like, some people have autism. Some people are on the spectrum. How can I don't know what's going on under your skin. How could I possibly expect you to be a certain way? Now, what's cool is that if I'm getting mad at you for not delivering what I want you to deliver, that means that I'm going against reality. So that's my own built-in alarm system saying, you gotta get out of here.
And you've trained that awareness for yourself.
Yes.
And you're hoping the others that hopefully read the book train themselves in that awareness.
Yeah. And there's different things to do. I mean, this, again, it's the subconscious mind is 95%. That's the one that's like, it's like you get in your car, right? Remember the first time you got in your car, you didn't know how to drive. Now you can be on your phone, you can be on your car, you can be talking to somebody in the back.
Sure.
So because it's subconscious wiring. So to rewire the brain, there's studies are very specific. You want to do it in the mornings when you wake up, your brain's in theta. That's when you want to do your meditations. Little by little, you give it 1 week of a 5-minute meditation, you start noticing things that used to hit you at a 10, now hit you at a 4 or 5. The traffic, you don't attract that neighbor, that friend that's always telling you bad news. And then life becomes really, really fun.
Do you meditate?
Yeah.
Every day?
Every day, yeah.
Every morning?
Every morning, yeah. I do at least a 15-minute gratitude meditation. I do a guided. Yeah. Listen, if you've never meditated, I tell people, go on YouTube, find a free 5-minute meditation.
Totally.
Yeah, there's everywhere. I mean, the problem now is not information. It's plentiful. It's us really putting in that willpower. It's like going to the gym. You got to go to the gym. You got to put in your reps.
Yeah. I tend to meditate only when things are going to get really stressful. Like if I know it ahead of time, which I usually do. And in that, it's been great. There's also a lot of science, I think, coming out on meditation and its abilities to like impacts to your health, your brain activity, all these things.
Balancing out the nervous system is the key, I got to tell you, Diego, like I'm a living proof of this. It's like I get more excited now, not from getting what I want, but from seeing who I am when I don't get what I want. When I get a no, when I get a detour and I'm like, all right. And then I can go to bed that night and I'm like, dude, I did not go ballistic on this guy. Or like, let's say somebody cancels on dinner and I go, you know what? Let's see what the unknown's going to bring me. And then an hour later, my friend calls me and he's like, dude, my girlfriend just broke up with me. Are you around? And I'm like, yes, I don't get to have that stupid client dinner and I can be there for my best friend. If we just constantly let go, then we can see how everything is perfectly orchestrated for us and there's never been a mistake.
That's a beautiful thing to say.
We can live it. Well, maybe start by not saying that's tough. Say it's tricky. Well, how can we start using language to break these patterns?
I think this is why people find God, to be honest, because they let go of everything.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I actually think life is just a big preparation for death, right? So let's say me, we grow up, we got to let go of our youth, we got to let go of some dreams, we got to let go of our parents, and eventually we're turning this thing in, and you go, hey, man, sorry about that death. And when we don't let go, when we go around not letting go, meaning like not letting people off the hook in traffic, not letting your friend who cancel on you last minute and you make them feel like shit because how dare you, I don't do this to you, why do you do this to me or whatever. As we don't let go of those things, I think we're going against the very nature of what we came here to do. So I think life is constantly teaching us how to let go. But the question becomes, how do you want to learn to let go? Do you want to learn to let go when someone cuts you off in traffic and you're feeling empathy and compassion? Or do you want to learn to let go when the doctor tells you, hey, I saw something on the test and I need you to come back? Because you will learn to let go. Just how do you want to learn it?
And when?
Yeah.
Have you read the book of the 5 Rings?
I've heard of it, yeah, for sure.
It's like the first one, or it's like the first lesson, and it is in order to become a warrior, you have to realize you're going to get cut.
Yeah.
And so the thing is, like, if you're doing samurai, right?
Uh-huh.
It doesn't matter who's better. One of you is going to get injured.
Yeah.
Probably both of you.
Yeah.
And so it's more of a fun, it's like a teaching to let you know you have to let fear go. Like, you're going to die.
Yeah.
Right. And I think a lot of people have the awareness or awakenings when tragedy happens to them. And it can be as small as, like, I pulled my back out, and so I was on the couch for a week, and then I realized how much mobility mattered, or how beautiful it is to play tennis or run or go for a swim. Now you have a new appreciation. And I think the world will constantly give you these moments, losing a parent, sibling, these things have
pulling
a way
your back. Yeah, pulling your back.
Yeah.
One of the commandments is thou shalt remember that life is temporary, because we really do act like we're not gonna die. We act like all of a sudden I'm gonna be like, bro, aren't you like 120? You're gonna be shh, like if
your time's up.
Like when your time's up. If we have a healthy relationship with our mortality, then every moment is going to be incredible. You know, it's all part of. I think we don't remember these things, so that's why, you know, I think my thing is pragmatic spirituality, right? Practices. That's why it's like, you know, the first commandment is like, if you're gonna talk shit about someone, don't use their name, use my friend. How can we start using anonymity when we talk about people, so we're not assassinating people's characters?
Yeah.
And it's like, if we walk into a gossiping conversation, just say, I hear you. Like, don't join in the
Don't
bashing.
pat it, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like all these little hacks on, and they work. And and I think there's so much information out there and stimulus. Things need to be more bite-sized for us to really get them.
What are your greatest dreams for this book?
You know what? I love that question. I want to keep growing it. You know what I mean? I want to keep doing retreats. I'm going to be in part of Mind Valley this weekend, this Saturday and Sunday. I have so many amazing colleague speakers that are going to be part of it, and I want this to really catch steam. I want this to be as big as The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. I don't know if you're
Yeah.
I want this to sell about 25 million copies, and I want it to spread. I didn't invent any of this stuff. I just created I put them in a formula that I think it's very digestible, and I want people to stop leaving money on the table when it comes to the quality of their life. We're way too powerful to have the life we have.
What do you mean by that?
I mean that when we talk about how life sucks, we are manifesting it.
Right.
If your life sucks right now, and somebody goes, how are you? You go, life's lifey, bro.
Yeah.
Life is life. But what do you mean life is lifey, Diego? What do you mean? Just, it's lifey, bro. It's life. So we can start manipulating our narrative. And once we start playing with what we were saying before, right? With lowering the narrative, then all of a sudden we're going to be pleasantly surprised.
I totally agree. I had a friend who worked under Pete Carroll, and I was like, what's the one thing you learned about him as a coach? And he said, Pete Carroll, number one thing, you have a philosophy. That's it. As a coach, as a husband, as a parent, as whatever it is, you have choose a philosophy for yourself, and then go embody that every day. Really interesting.
Yeah.
And I totally get it, because most people don't. Most people are reacting to life every day.
Yeah.
And that's not a healthy place to be.
Well, when we're constantly reacting, you mean, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Because that's when you get in the mindset of like, oh, I think life's pretty brutal, or it can be. And so when you're reacting, right? If you're under that mindset, then it's like, oh man, everything's tough. Everything's happening to you, instead of like this ability where it's like having for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love this saying about, so, you know, you have responding and reacting, right? Mm-hmm. So when I respond, what I'm doing is you're coming at me with something, and I'm using my inner guidance to neutralize, right? But when we react, that means that I'm completely letting you take over me.
Yeah.
So it's a kind of alchemizing constantly.
Yeah.
Different things, you know. And for me, it's, you know, writing this book, now everyone knows they can tell me everything, and I can't divulge it. I go like, when people tell me things, they're like, please don't tell me. Well, I can't. I wrote a book called Shut the Fuck Up. Like, but I love honoring that. Yeah. You know, I love practicing what I preach, but also I think it's really important to cut ourselves some slack and have self-compassion. You know what? If you didn't do your most, if you lost it on that telemarketer, it's okay. Just you don't even have to apologize. Just give yourself some grace, and maybe you were mad for 3 minutes instead of an hour, how it used to be.
Yeah. Get better at it slowly.
Yeah.
There's also Joe Mazzulla, coach of the Celtics, where he talks about Jason Tatum. He's like, oh, Jason, he's got all this pressure now. You know, he's getting like ripped apart in the headlines, and how do you feel? Like, he has to deal with all that. And then Joe goes, he gets to.
Yeah,
he gets to deal with
the privilege to deal with all that.
He's like, this is what he wanted, right? He wanted to be one of the best in the NBA, and now he gets to deal with that. It was really interesting. I mean, it's just so simple stuff.
Yeah,
where it changes your mindset. And I think for me on this project, it's the same thing. Like, I remind myself of that every day. It's like all these problems I chose.
Yeah, you have the privilege of having
and
these
I have the
problems.
privilege. Yeah. And so to me, it's also this beautiful moment of how will I come out of it and how amazing that's going to be. Because I'm going to, without realizing it in real time, we're problem solving.
Yeah.
A lot of things. But you're so in it that you don't realize the growth happening. But in a year from now, I'll look back on it and I'll be like, oh my God, what an incredible development cycle I was in personally. And
100%.
And what's next and how fun. And, you know, I don't know. I try to have a lot of gratitude with these issues because they're not always so fun.
Yeah. I have a chapter that's called We All Need an Irritant, you know, and I talk about a diamond and how a diamond comes from the pressure of the Earth's mantle in fire. And out of that coal, a diamond comes. A diamond is not going to come by watching Netflix and eating freaking popcorn all day. A diamond will come from struggle, you know, and a muscle. Think about what a muscle. Muscles are just, it's ripping tissue, you know, and think of your heart, right? Yeah. You lose a parent, a breakup. What does that do? It's a heartbreak. It's your muscle tearing. But here's the good news: when the muscle tears, it grows. So only a heart that's gone through grief is a heart that is so loving, and a heart doesn't come from getting everything we want. We see that with, you know, this story of Howard Schultz, you know, the CEO of Starbucks. Like he doesn't give his kids anything because he doesn't want to rob them from the same opportunities he had.
That's
because
right.
I do believe, you know, Kabbalah has this term, bread of shame. I think that if we don't work for what we get, we start developing this feeling of I'm not good enough, and you gave it to me. And it's kind of ironic because when you're a parent who you didn't have these things, and you want to shower your kid with all the things you didn't have, but by doing that, you're robbing them from who you became.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't steal people's struggle.
Yeah.
You have to let them have it.
Yeah.
It's so important.
Yeah, it sometimes I'm like, God, I wish you can be humble and rich at the same time, but just getting everything you want. But it's knowing the value of things. So what do you feel that, I mean, you're growing your business now and you have this great idea for the sports bars. And what do you think it's your thing that you grapple with?
I think a couple things. I think the things I grapple with personally, they're going to make a lot of sense to you. So I wouldn't say... No. Like, they make sense to me. So I'm not saying them like I'm under some illusion. But it's the number one is always, I need people to do their job. And I need them to do their job well in order to this whole thing to succeed. The architects, the designer, everybody, you know. And in that, I have two choices. I'm either going to be like the drill sergeant, or I'm just going to lead with energy and compassion. And I think what I've learned in my life through this project is like energy is free. Right?
Yeah.
And so when I think about the people we've attracted to this project, they've been attracted by the passion and energy, not the pitch deck, not the Excel sheet.
The energy, for sure.
The energy. Yeah. And so it's like, I just remind myself of that a lot. It's like, you choose your energy. And so what do you want to give them? And it doesn't mean I'm not the drill sergeant sometimes. It doesn't mean like if the team isn't doing well, I don't have a conversation where I'm like, look, if it were you and you're a baseball card, what grade would you give yourself?
Yeah.
And then there's honesty in that too, right? And so I'm a big fan. Like, I don't mind confrontation if it gets us progress. Yeah. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
But I think like getting the team, to answer your question directly, to getting the team to achieve at a different level, I think it's tough because in some way you're playing coach, you're playing mentor, you've lived an experience that they haven't.
Babysitter a little.
A little bit of babysitter. Yeah. And then when things happen, you shake it up. You bring in more A players and you let them know who you are. You remind them what kind of project this is. This isn't just whenever I meet, if you were to meet with me on this project, I would tell you like, this is the greatest thing in the world. And I'd explain to you why. And by the end of that meeting, you'd feel that too. And so in that's what I want. I want people to be excited about the things I'm working on because I'm excited about the things I'm working on.
Right.
And generally speaking, most developers are in a big office with Excel sheets and there's no soul. And I look at all my projects like an artist looks at an album. you know, there's designers, there's producers, everyone gets a credit, everyone's a part of it. Every hand that touches it is basically molecularly changing this thing that people will then feel. And so I'm just so hyper focused on that. I'm like, let's give the world something it deserves.
Yeah.
You know? And so, but getting to that point every day is certainly challenging. It's certainly challenging.
Yeah. It takes a lot. You got to have a vision, but you also have to like, but when I say surrender, right? It's like you got to be really determined, but flexible at the same time.
Yeah. I think for 3 months on the project, like I was just so stressed out. Like I didn't really sleep well at all. And so when you said surrender, it's like there was a moment for me where it was like, none of this is serving me. So just give it up.
Yeah.
Like you have to, it's so interesting. It's like when the word triggering exists, you know, it's like there's so much that, so if I said to you right now, if I was like, I don't think you're working hard enough,
right,
that would hurt. You'd be like, oh, like if you said that to any human being out there, one-on-one, a part of them would agree with you.
Yeah.
And that's scary because it means there's a part of them that doubts them. And I think in every human, there's parts of us that doubt. We all doubt ourselves. It's the number one killer, I think. And so in that, it's like, have compassion. You sort of said it earlier with yourself.
Yeah.
Like, just, you're doing your best. We're all doing our best.
Yes.
It's one thing to say it. It's another thing to really believe it. Really believe it. You know? And if this week I went to the gym 6 days a week and next week it's only 5, that's okay. You're doing your best. You know, maybe it meant you spent more time with your mom, or maybe, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think the gratitude, like just having compassion with yourself goes a long way. Yeah.
And you know, this is where the Bible kind of had it right. You know, like simple, love thy neighbor like you love thyself. If I hate you, I hate me. How we see the world will let us see how we see ourselves. And the common sense that I've gotten out of, you know, just kind of following this method and kind of really diving deep is that now, you know, the people in my life that I can have that friend that I know gossips, right? Or he's trashing whoever's not in the room. And instead of judgment, I can have compassion and be like, you know what? I know that when no one's around, this guy's going ham on himself. And that doesn't mean I get to tell him anything about my life, because if someone's doing that about other people, you know they're doing that about you.
Totally.
So it's just like not fun anymore, right?
Yeah.
But yet it's a great exercise, talk about the irritant, to have a friend like that around so you can kind of gauge your level of compassion, you know, because I don't know.
That's a really interesting thing to say.
So I have this kid that literally I love it. He won't stop. He'll send me like a picture of somebody else and be like, oh my God, can you believe she looks like this now? She looks like, and I don't know what is he expecting for me to write, yeah, you're right, or for him to give him a mouthful of like, why are you talking shit about other people? But I'm like, I go more into like, let him talk. Who cares? Like,
sure.
That's his own way. And I'm not,
that's funny.
I don't think I have a better tool set than he does. I become really grateful for who I am in that moment.
But you don't want to help him through that?
But what does helping mean?
It's to your point of like, so if you can say, if you think the world is bad, then that means you are bad. And so for him,
that's his self-expression. That's how he's creating bonding with me. Like literally, he's like that kid that's like, hey, look how funny that guy looks. Wow. But for me, I'm like,
so that's the form of expression.
Yes, that's his bond. See what
interesting
connection, right? We the whole thing about the book is that we've normalized complaining, and we're using complaining as a mechanism for bonding and relatedness. We're going to bond about how hot Miami is, or like LA traffic or whatever. Who cares? Like, I don't want to bond about things that I don't want. You want to bond about how plastic people are in LA and how they're all about themselves and using. Why would I want to agree with you on something that's going to make me lose?
Yeah.
Why don't I smile and go, funny, huh? And then in my mind, I go, that's not my experience. I know a lot of deep, amazing, soulful people here.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Despite their plastics.
Yeah. And you know what? I actually see it as like, this is a place where highly ambitious people came with big trauma that are like, I'll show you middle school and I'll show you that I'm good enough. And so we have like a population of highly talented people that are pissed that are thinking that being on that Netflix poster is going to make them happy, only to finally, I think it was Angelina Jolie, she said the saddest day of her life was when she won the Oscar, because she thought that that's what was going to make her happy. And when she got it, she was like, fuck. And that's what we do. We say, once I get that thing, that's it. And then life goes, no. But the only thing that's going to make us happy is to truly just be in love with the moment exactly the way it is.
There's two things I think that happen to people in these moments. Mm-hmm. So they get the thing they've always wanted. Mm-hmm. And I think there's an embarrassment internally of like, why did I put my value on this? And with an Oscar, you're holding it.
Right. And so it's golden and heavy.
And so you're like, this was my self-worth? Are you kidding?
Yeah.
And it's almost like a mirror.
Yeah.
Right? So is it that, or is it the perception of it was so much bigger?
So let's call them environments, right? So let's say your career success is an environment, right? Your health is an environment. Your personal relationship with your partner is an environment. Your friendships are an environment. Your real estate bar projects is an environment. So we have all these environments, your children, and we say, if all these environments are working, then Diego over here is going to be at peace. But then God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, goes, I'm going to take this environment right now.
Yeah.
Your health.
Yeah.
And now you can't use that foot or whatever. Now you gotta muster up that happiness without that environment being the way you want it to be. Your kid's a drug addict, whatever it is, right? So I think that I'm all about pursuing environments, and pursue your environments and your goals and your dreams, but make no mistake that the only thing that's gonna really give you peace is it's gonna have to come from inside. Regardless, nothing from the outside can suffice that a level of peace that's inside us.
Yeah.
And you know what? Then you asked, well, what will suffice it, right? Perspective. You know what? Go feed the homeless for one day, and you'll see how much you're gonna care about your bank account number.
Totally. That's so
and
true.
I think that's the one thing that we're lacking. We need to put ourselves in environments where we can have perspective.
Yeah.
Because like I said, it's like these people, and speaking of, I used to always see people in wheelchairs and that couldn't walk. I'd be like, oh, either they were born that way or they got into an accident. No, bro. A lot of these neurological diseases are people like you and me that just woke up one morning, was like, oh, my leg feels weird. And then a week later, they can't walk. And they all remember something neurological, something stressful that they couldn't stop thinking about until it finally detonated.
That's scary.
Yeah. So many of them. And I've asked them all, but I swear to God, I go there and I'm a caretaker of them. And, I'm with them for a whole week. On day 4, I go, do you think something emotional? And before I even finish, they're like, I know what it was.
Really?
I had a problem with my boss and I wouldn't stop talking about it. Or I thought, look, I'm getting goosebumps. Like they all remember something emotional.
A real stress.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying, bro. Cancer is not the devil. I don't demonize disease.
Sure.
Sometimes that's how we have to learn how to let go.
Yeah.
My mom, before she died of cancer, she said it was the biggest privilege of her life to get it, because her whole life she would always say how scared she was to do anything. And at the end of the day, she ended up bringing the bravest woman I've ever known to herself and to me, because she wouldn't stop.
Wow.
And she needed to go through her path. And who am I to play God on anyone's life?
Yeah. That's powerful. And you do some coaching also?
Yeah. I'm Dr. Joe's company, actually, the CEO contacted me. They bought a bunch of the books. They've been studying the books for non-complaining, non-gossip, and I'm just kind of getting started with it. The book finished. It's been number 1 on Amazon. It's been doing really great. The Spanish just came out.
Oh, nice.
El Método, Cállate la Boca.
That's so much better.
Yeah, you like it, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's been easier to get into like mainstream media like Telemundo, Univision. This one has its hurdles. But then again, this says it right to the point. So again, I'm still having just so much fun with it. My business has been, I'm thinking about, I've done some real estate investing. Actually, Tariq Al-Musa was a partner of mine for a few things. But, nobody takes you to personal development bigger than real estate investing, because you have to, you're working with teams. You got to surrender with your contractor. But what I was thinking about was this weekend, I'm working on this Mind Valley project, and we booked some big celebrities, and I'm working with teams from Estonia. Estonia's a very different culture, bro. They come from it's communist. They're just kind of like, don't really question things, and there's a lot of empathy and compassion of of, you know what, something's not getting done, I'm going to do it. Or tell the person, hey, I need you to do this. But what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to tell all the people around me saying, God, this girl sucks and why is she doing it this way? But that's what we do very innocently. We start demonizing people, and then we start locking in those particles, and then we end up being right about the weakest link. I don't want to be right about a weak link. I want to be proven wrong, or I want to dismiss them, handle it, or get somebody else to do it.
It's interesting. I feel like every boardroom should read your book. Based on that, because that's how it gets in the boardroom. It gets a little bit like, this person is this, and you get put in a box pretty quickly. And you know, it's fine, but it's just highly ineffective. Totally. Because we go around finding the scapegoat all the time, and it creates a fear culture. And at the end, again, not personal. If somebody's not doing the job and you tell them once or twice and they don't, like, there's nothing personal about being like, hey, I love you to death, but this isn't working. I'm not doing you any favors by keeping you around. Yeah, I agree with that. Totally. Well, look, where can people support? Buy the book? Yeah, man. So we have it on Audible. Thank you. It's on Audible. It's on Amazon. The website is STFUmethod.com, and all the retreats coming up and one-on-one coachings. My background, I've been working with artists for years, and I know the artist mentality, photographers, and so it's kind of been like my wheelhouse to get them out of what gets them stuck. So I've been doing a lot of coaching on that, but my dream is to really transform corporate culture, for sure. Yeah, that's quite the task. Yeah. Well, thank you. Well, Thanks for coming on the pod. Yeah. Thank you for having me, bro. It's been awesome. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, share with your friends, your family, or anyone you might think might benefit from the conversation we've had today. And if you haven't already, please take a moment to leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. We'd greatly appreciate it. Your feedback helps us improve and reach more people who can benefit from our discussions. The best way to stay connected with us and get the latest updates on future episodes is through our social media channels. You can find us at Startup Storefront. We'll be back next Tuesday with another great episode. See you then.